Hi everyone, my name is Maxim. This is my second podcast, and now I want to tell you more about myself. I'm 35 years old, I have a loving wife and a cat I took from the street to care. I work as an electrician at a factory, and my wife works remotely as a copywriter in Ukrainian IT company. The cat is not working, but we still love him very much because he is so cute and fluffy. Having such good company, we prepared for the war and spent its first days. To be honest, it is impossible to prepare for a full-scale war. Not because there are no measures that could protect you during the war, but because you don't believe in it before it starts. Don't believe that it will begin, don't believe that it will be full-scale, long and bloody. It's impossible to believe that such a war can happen in the 21st century. My wife and I did not believe either in full-scale war. But we couldn't rule out such a possibility, because the war in Ukraine had already been going on since 2014, but locally. The war was hybrid. Russia has captured some territories of Ukraine with its troops. It has never officially recognized this, saying that only the imaginary people of Donbass are fighting. This may seem absurd, because how could no one notice that the Russian troops captured Crimea and parts of Donetsk and Luhansk regions? But that's exactly what happened. Ukraine couldn't resist a huge country with nuclear weapons, and our Western allies pretended that nothing was happening. They forced us to impose peace negotiations with fictitious entities supported by Russians. And this despite the existence of the Budapest Memorandum, which provides us with security guarantees in exchange for giving up our nuclear weapons to Russia in 1994. Security guarantors were Russia, the United States, and the Great Britain. But, as we can see, none of the parties haven't fulfilled their obligations. So we were alone with this threat for 8 years, but could not ignore another stage of escalation. We believed that this would be just another military escalation on the border of the two partially occupied regions, Donetsk and Luhansk. Unfortunately, we made a mistake. When Russia brought troops to the Ukrainian borders, all the news media were talking about the possibility of an attack by Russia. At that time, the level of anxiety in the country increased greatly. Territorial defense units were created, and regular troops were put on alert. My wife and I were also worried. Even the cat was nervous, constantly hiding under the sofa. Perhaps he sensed the upcoming threat more than all of us. We started preparations for war after the New Year holidays in 2022. Media provided a list of things that might be needed in case of an emergency. This was helpful for us. So, as was recommended, we put all the documents together and bought several canisters of gasoline, regular and instant cereals and pasta, canned goods, chocolate, and water. Besides, we cashed out our money and used credit cards to buy everything we needed. Also, we started considering evacuation routes in case of war. One of our options was to go to the village where my wife's relatives lived. We thought it would be better to wait out the warfare in a private house than in a high-rise building. But fortunately, we rejected this option. The only reasonable option was to go abroad to one of NATO countries, namely in Poland, where some of my relatives lived since 2014 after the Russian hybrid war against Ukraine began. They left the city of Lysychansk, Luhansk region, and now the city has been destroyed and captured by the Russian occupation forces. So we decided where to go in case of war, but there were issues. At the beginning of February, the wife had surgery that imposed certain limitations on her movements. And 2 days before the full-scale invasion began, I also came down with a cold. The second issue was that our cat didn't have a passport to travel abroad. And only after starting making all these documents we realized how long it would be. We made all necessary vaccinations and obtained a passport, but needed to wait for 6 months to confirm a lack of rabies. However, the war started much earlier. Another issue was that our relatives did not believe that the war could even happen, and they did nothing because they thought it was just a waste of money. We worried about them also, thinking that it would be selfish to leave them. In general, these issues did not allow us to leave in advance to a safe place. Not believing that the war would start after all, we went to sleep as usual lately on February 23rd. In the morning, we met its first day, lying in bed in our apartment.